Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Holla for $1 short for a tip. This is your second episode of Blacktual Factual featured on Shit Under My Nails. So, if you didn't hear the music in the background, we are talking about one of the most epic events that has ever happened in life. It is about the one and the only Freaknik. You could never duplicate what actually happened. So, let's get into the details of it, right? All right, so as y'all know, early 1980s, Freaknik actually began as a picnic for the Atlanta University Center students from DC who just couldn't go home during spring break. So what they would do is they would gather a couple of different people from all the different HBCUs down here in Atlanta, and they would have a picnic from Grant Park, Piedmont Park, and the now Centennial Olympic Park. They would go and party, listen to music, dance, eat. It would just be a whole event. It became an annual event, and originally it was called The Return of the Freak. And that was only for 2 years. So 82 and 83 it was becoming something great. But of course, you know, black folks, we always got to sit up here and shorten something. So the permanent name became Freaknik. Small celebration for Atlanta's great black educated, and it became something that was a tradition for years after that. It was even notarized in Spike Lee's 88 School Days and Different World in 89. Now, this event originally started as 3,000 to 4,000, and then eventually it grew to 20,000 people. In 93, they had a record of 100,000 visitors, and this is from all HBCUs from every state. Kent State, Cleveland, Southern Illinois, California, Toronto, all the HBCUs here in Atlanta, Michigan State, Mississippi Valley, Howard, Milwaukee, everywhere, just to come down here to have a good time. Now, for those who really want to get some type of actual footage of Freaknik, if you go and Google Work It, it's a song, and a small clip of Freaknik actually was released on it. By 1994, the crowd size actually doubled because of the national awareness of all black students for spring break come to Atlanta for your local Freaknik. So it was just a big situation. By that time, it began to keep a record of 200,000 people actually attended. And some of them were students and some of them weren't, obviously. But it became known as the Atlanta most infamous street party. Now, a lot of people weren't happy, but what people don't understand is Georgia is still divided, right? You have white Atlanta and you have black Atlanta. Black Atlanta was more than happy to accept them for any and all of the situations that came with the actual Freaknik. But white Atlanta, they didn't want to basically deem it as a race situation, even though it had something to do with a bunch of black kids coming down here in the 80s and 90s, disrupting them, making more traffic, dancing, showing off their styles, all types of stuff. They wanted the culture appropriated so much, but they couldn't because of how much attention it got. So they even went so far to Midtown people. They went so far to do a group called the Freaknik Fallout. And they created this group to basically bash the reason Freaknik was even down there and a bunch of stuff. The other people who didn't like it, they didn't even want to join the group. They just went ahead and picketed outside the mayor's house in Emmett Park. Now, the mayor who was a 40-year-old black man, Mr. Bill Campbell. He basically was like, he thought that Freaknik was a good idea because it brought people, it brought consumers, and it all equaled up to revenue for the city of Atlanta. So he felt like this was just the good news. And because of all the attention that Freaknik gave Atlanta, Georgia, what ended up happening is Olympic decided to have a actual like host the Olympics here in Atlanta, Georgia. So Miss Beverly Harvey, who was the only female police chief, and Bill Campbell, they actually just band together to try to come up with some type of plan where the traffic wouldn't be as congested for Freaknik the weekend, same weekend of Olympic. But they knew Olympic goers would be more calm than the actual Freaknik goers. So what they did was they promised the weekend of Freaknik and Olympic. They promised Black Atlanta that we got your back no matter what. They promised White Atlanta that they would make sure that we abided by the rules at all costs. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. All right. So by 1996, the Olympic Games actually came to the city. The police were actually told to just be cool and avoid confrontation because at the time, these were our future doctors, lawyers, entertainers that we were hosting this major event for. Um, by 95, that's when shit got bad. So 96 was like the no, 96. 96 was the last year for Freaknik. 95, they said it was a skyrocket in reports of local violence, looting, raping, and everything of that nature. So because of those acts and events, they shut it down. They got extremely strict. So by 96, which was the last year, a lot of people didn't show up. It wasn't a lot of revenue. And ever since then, the city ain't been the same. But this is just me giving you your blacktual factual. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or you want to sit up here and give me something to do for Black History, you can hit me up on my Instagram at DURTTY_JOE. And you can hit me up on TikTok to do the same. I can't wait to see you next episode.